This video will focus on how to create quizzes in Google Forms. We will cover both creating it within Google Forms straight away and also creating a quiz assignment in Google Classroom. To create a quiz in Google Forms, if you're going to Google Forms initially, the easiest way to do this is to go to google.com, make sure you're signed in, and then go to the 9 tiles and select Forms. You may need to scroll down to do this, and as always, we can drag and drop these to move them to where we need them. From here, we're then going to select Blank Quiz. This will look familiar and look like other Google Forms you have created. However, the main difference is at the bottom of our questions, we have the option for an answer key. I'm going to give the quiz a name. If I click off of here and click up to the top where it says Blank Quiz, I'll give that a name here too. Now we're going to create some questions. Now, the easiest way to create a self-marking quiz is to use multiple choice questions. The reason for this is simply because if you have any text, you need to make sure that it accounts for any spelling or grammar errors. So if a student were to put in an extra space, it would mark it as wrong. This video will focus solely on the multiple choice questions. So I'll do a few questions. So what is the capital city of Scotland? And then I'll pop in some options. And then I will select the answer key. Then this is where I can choose the correct answer. I'll give it a point value and select done. Within the answer key, there's also the option to add answer feedback. So if it was an incorrect answer, you could add a link. So if I add a link to this web search, for example, so try searching on Google for the correct answer. And then if it was correct, I could then link this to a video from YouTube, or I could add a follow-up task, so another bit of research to complete. I'll hit save to add that in. You'll see that answer feedback has appeared at the bottom, and I can select done to make sure that that is there. You can see it's got the green tick next to the correct answer. Another thing you can do within the multiple choice is add images next to each of the questions or each of the answers. So I'll put in an image of each of the cities. Make sure I've got the right city for this one, Dundee. Let's not grab that Dundee one. And Edinburgh. Try a different image for Dundee. There we go. Now I'll make this required. Now I would recommend that you make most things required unless it's a more informal task. It may be that the student just isn't quite sure of the answer. But having them required, make sure that they are completing the entire quiz. At the top in settings is where we can personalize the quiz experience. So because this is most likely used by students, we'll have it so it's restricted to users within your domain. Then if we come along to the quizzes section, this is where we can change how it is. So if you're using this with your students in your classroom and they are all using Chromebooks, you can turn on locked mode, and that prevents them from being able to open other tabs or other applications. So if this was an assessment, it would prevent them from being able to research the answers to the questions. For me as a primary teacher, I would tend to have this off, but more in secondary schools, it may be that you want them to have more of an exam experience. And then this is where if you were to have text responses, so if you were doing this as a text response, you can manually review the answers, and this is where you can mark them as correct or incorrect. So if you had students who had completed and perhaps comprehension activity, if you manually review, you can review and give them the correct or incorrect answers. If you're using the multiple choice question immediately after each submission, it's absolutely fine. But it depends if you want to just read through them or maybe not give them the responses either. Next thing you can do is, if you don't have all of the questions as required, they can see their missed questions. There are these help buttons next to here that give you the hints and tips to go with it. So identify which questions have been answered incorrectly. And that's also the ones where if they did get the question wrong, it can show them the correct answer. Now, I wouldn't have this switched on normally for the fact that if you wanted them to go back and try the assessment again, you don't want them to know what all the correct answers were. And you can choose whether or not to give them the points values. The other point to note here is if you've created a form and you've forgotten to create it as a blank quiz, you can come in here and make it a quiz. So as always in your form settings, you have general presentation, and then there's quizzes, and this is where we can switch on this toggle switch and make it a quiz, and that will allow you to add the point values and the correct or incorrect answers. As always with your form, you can send it by a link, and you could add that as an assignment into your Google Classroom. Or if you use another platform to share work, you could copy and paste that link into that platform as well. And you can always preview to see what the user experience is like. So once you've added your pictures, you can see the images go above and they go into this nice grid view. So I'll select Edinburgh and submit. I can then view my score, or I can submit another response. So I can view the score, and I can see that I got that question correct, and I can see my total points at the top right showing that I got 1 out of 1. And that will obviously change depending on the number of questions and the points values that you have given your quiz. Other thing I'm going to do is just show you if you were to create this in Google Classroom. So I will open up my demo Google Classroom, go into classwork, and then where we've got the option to create, we have the option to make a quiz assignment. Now you'll see it's creating the Google form, and you have that locked mode on on Chromebooks as well. I'll give some instructions. So I always encourage you to use clear instructions, and if it is the first time the students have used a quiz, making sure that they know that they can go and view their score and view their feedback or submit other responses if they've got it wrong as well. So opening up this blank quiz is where we can then go in and create the quiz. So this gives you the edit mode as a teacher. However, when your students click on that, once you have assigned the work in Google Classroom, they will have the same view that you had when you preview it. Now, what you will notice here is because this is a quiz, this didn't happen in the last question, but you'll see that there is the suggested correct answer. So I can add that in, and then I can add in others as well. So because it uses some machine learning for some questions, it does depend on the question, it will give you the correct answer for some. I can drag and drop, so it will always put the correct answer first. Students will clearly catch on to that. So you can click and drag to move that about. As always, you can give answer feedback. This may be a next step for students, or it may be a link to the likes of Google Earth or Google Maps for them to check. And also, if they get the answer correct, you can expand it further. As always, I'd encourage you to preview it. And like in other forms, you can customize the theme. So if you wanted to color code it depending on the subject that you were teaching or this year group, you can do so. Makes it a bit more visual for you in your Google Drive as well. Preview the form, check the user experience. If I click the incorrect answer, as we know, I can view the score. Now, what I noticed there is I did not give this a points value. So I can come back into my quiz and make sure I've given that a points value as well. Once I'm happy with that, I can close it, as everything in Google will save automatically. And then I can assign that. So I'll add a new topic and I'll do geography. Usual settings apply as it's a Google Classroom assignment, and you will see it has appeared here. I can then open that, and then it takes me to the quiz experience. The marks from this will be viewable in your handed in section. So you'll see how many students the work has been assigned to and how many have completed the form.